corporate profiles. Megacorporation Capitol. First to Luna and to Mars. The largest, most democratic, most prosperous and egalitarian of all the megacorporations, Capitol was the first amongst the stars and the first to free humanity from the bonds of a dying Earth. Capitol descends from the earliest pioneers who planted their proud flag on Luna and survived every hardship to follow. The diseases of their new homeworlds, the corruption of the dark influence, and the conflicts with the other megacorporations. From the first invasion of the Dark Legion to their current assault on the inner worlds, the original spirit of the first pioneers remains strong. It is not only a war against the darkness, it is a war for freedom. Freedom, above all, is the strength of Capitol, and their belief that any of their diverse citizenry can fight their way out of poverty and even ascend to the highest position, the presidency. These citizen employees only need the intelligence, determination, and toughness of their pioneer forebearers. The only megacorporation not led by a hereditary aristocracy, every Capitolian is given corporate shares equal to their worth. Everyone has a voice. Unprecedented in human history, the largest, most powerful media machine, and the huge, well-equipped, and highly trained armies of Capitol, and their faith derived from their deep connection with the Brotherhood, all serve to protect one thing: the Capitolian dream. Luna. The pioneers descended on Earth's moon to create Luna, building the largest metropolis to have ever existed. When humanity fled the dying Earth, Luna became its sanctuary. Capitol was joined by the colonists of Bauhaus, Mishima, and Imperial. This meant, unlike other cities in the solar system that were dominated by a single megacorporation, Luna is truly the heart of the inner worlds. The scale of the city is hard to grasp. Luna is divided into the ancient quarters of downtown, the ever-expanding urban sprawl of the perimeters, sports, and industrial zones, the dangerous badlands of the Armstrong Mountains and Luna Plains. Luna is like nowhere else in the solar system, but above all else, Luna is a free city. This is maintained by the Pax Luna, enforced by the Brotherhood. No single megacorporation will ever own Luna. The Pinnacle is the headquarters of Megacorporation Capitol. This symbol of corporate power would have risen high above any structure on Luna had the Brotherhood not demanded that nothing could rise above the first cathedral. Regardless, the Pinnacle can be seen anywhere in the city. Its 170 floors of black steel and glass are constantly illuminated by spotlights, serving as a beacon of humanity's accomplishments and pride, and also as a reminder of the powerful position that Capitol holds. The Cardinal's Cathedral, the first cathedral, the Cardinal Duran Cathedral, is both the largest building in Luna and the largest cathedral in the solar system. Open to the public, the cathedral is visited by tens of thousands of worshippers who come to pray and walk the length of its 5-kilometer interior, the entire surface of which is covered by the inner wall, where the first chronicle, the arrival of the darkness and the call of the Cardinal, is inscribed. Pioneer's Rock is the original landing site of Capitol on Luna. It is located on the outskirts of the first off-world settlement. The memorial honors the first permanent steps Capitol took off of old Earth, allowing for the colonization of the solar system. One can only marvel at the ancient technology and relics from a bygone era, built by ingenuity and grit of the original explorers that still lives in the blood of every Capitolian today. From Luna, Mishima then conquered Mercury. Bauhaus rebuilt Venus in its own image. Imperial explored the asteroid belt, and Capitol staked its claim on Mars. Mars. Once Capitol reached the red planet, deserts bloomed, factories churned, and a new age of peace and prosperity began. Mars is the home of the pioneers and the heartland of Megacorporation Capitol, who controls almost 3/4 of the planet's surface. Mars is less than a third of the size of old Earth, but trade flows mightily along the Trans-Martian Railway, connecting the flood belts of the north with south of the equator. The great canals flow mightily, irrigating large sections of the breadbasket of the inner worlds. Mars is the Capitolian land of freedom. DORADO is the heart of Megacorporation Capitol, the largest city on Mars and second only to Luna City. It is also the site of the DORADO Cathedral. This enormous cathedral, third largest in the solar system, is a testament to Capitol's adherence to the Brotherhood and its stand against the dark influence. The walls are engraved with the fourth chronicle, the arrival of Semi and Morvige. It is also an active Brotherhood headquarters, giving their inquisitors and missionaries a base of operation. The President of Capitol resides in the Presidential Palace in DORADO, a massive ivory marble building, decorated with thousands of crests and statues of the Capitol Eagle. It serves as a residence and offices of the Chairman of the Board. The bottom level is open to tourism and acts as a museum for past presidents. It is constantly patrolled by Capitol security forces. The true seat of power, however, is the Concord House, located near the Brotherhood Cathedral. After an attack by Mishima, destroying the West Wing, a dreadnought has been stationed in geostationary orbit above DORADO to prevent further attacks. The Citadel of the NEPAHRITE. There has been no peace on Mars since the first Imperial soldier set foot on its surface, and it was only a matter of time before the Dark Legion appeared to torment humanity in this already harsh and war-torn land. When the first Citadel was constructed, threatening all things good and holy, Capitol made a heroic attempt to eliminate the invaders before the forces of darkness were able to spread. The NEPAHRITE overlord Saladin finished and fortified his citadel beyond what human technology could defeat, and there were more to follow. In these remote war zones, a never-ending battle raged, sometimes quiet and almost forgotten, more often shaking the entire planet and rocking the skyscrapers of distant DORADO. Not even the mighty forces of Capitol have managed to eradicate the Dark Legion's forces from Mars. Employing guard towers, trenches, moats, and fortifications, Capitol has managed to surround the citadels and keep them contained. It is a resource-devouring job, but one that has to continue for the sake of the entire system. Citizens of Capitol. The citizen is Capitol, and Capitol is its citizens. With the lack of a long-held heritage to shape Capitolian culture, there is no restriction on an employee-citizen's advancement, with wealth and fame equally available to all. Some see Capitol as decadent or shallow, but every true Capitolian strives to distinguish themselves. The famous are powerful, because fame brings wealth and influence in Capitol society. Capitolians are also devout. There are a total of 3 Brotherhood cathedrals on Mars. They have close ties to the Brotherhood and see them as a vital part of the fight against the dark symmetry. They also hold deep reverence for the necessary sacrifice of those left behind on old Earth during the Great Exodus. Life in Capitol society is one of abundance. Mars is the breadbasket of the inner worlds and exports more foodstuffs than any other megacorporation. This leaves no citizen wanting and encourages a love of consumerism reinforced by a powerful media machine. Gun ownership is also well supported. Capitol security forces can only do so much to keep citizens safe. It is the responsibility of every Capitolian to protect themselves and their families, and also be ready to fight the Dark Legion in the War of Freedom. Being convicted of a crime in capital society results in forfeiture of all corporate shares. The only chance for redemption is to serve in the Freedom Brigades, a branch of the armed forces that consists of non-citizens and criminals. Valorous service may result in a clean slate and citizenship. It is the only road back to the promise of the Capitolian dream. Government. Capitol revels in its tradition of democracy. Capitol is the only true corporation of the 5 megacorporations. In the others, power has been brutally pulled out of the hands of the original founders and placed with the aristocracy. Every Capitol Employee-Citizen is a shareholder and owns at least one personal share in Megacorporation Capitol. This allows them to participate in the political process. Management of Capitol consists of a board of directors selected by Capitol shareholder citizens. Every shareholder in the corporation holds a place and a number of votes in relation to their number of shares. The board of executives is subordinate to the board of directors and takes care of the day-to-day business, while the directors make all the important decisions. The chairman of the board of executives is the president. Presidential tasks include supervising and organizing the work of the executives, but the president's powers are far more extensive, giving him or her the final word in most matters of corporate security and finance. The president is elected by the executives, who are elected from the board of directors. The president personally appoints Capitol's representative in the Cartel High Council and Security Council. The Armed Forces of Capitol, AFC. Megacorporation Capitol believes in the inherent goodness and strength of its diverse employee citizens. It is important that everyone play a role in defending the common good by force. The AFC, Armed Forces of Capitol, focus on deterrent and retaliation, an effective but extremely expensive approach. Capitolians find comfort knowing they are protected by the system's largest military force. Air Forces, CAF. Capitol believes strongly in air superiority. This makes fighter pilots revered within Capitolian society and the dream of many youths. The Armed Forces of Capitol spare no expense in outfitting its squadrons with the best aircraft it can manufacture or purchase, and equipping them with weapons of mass destruction. Most Capitol engagements begin with the aircraft decimating enemy lines ahead of incoming ground troops. The fighter pilots of the CAF are among the best reputed and glorified of Capitol's military personnel. The finest aircraft available, with the most efficient weapons, flown by what are considered system-wide to be the best pilots in the skies. Ground Forces, CGF. The AFC's ground troops are primarily devoted to assaulting a position after a target has been softened by their airstrikes. It is a difficult task, and the death toll is high. The reality of this results in constantly low recruitment numbers, and ground efforts must often be supported by Freedom Brigades or Free Marines, the criminal and non-citizen soldiers. Troops are stationed at every capital settlement or city, constantly on high alert to the threat of the Dark Legion or other megacorporations. In the shadow of the Air Force, the members of the CGF lead an unglamorous and hard life. For these soldiers, the highest motivation lies in the fact that they are absolutely necessary for the survival of the Capitolian dream. Capitol is also the strongest faction in the cartel, and their forces are occasionally dispatched to cartel commanders for vital operations. Naval Command, CNC. While receiving a lesser focus and financial investment, the Capitol Navy still rises to the challenge of warfare on the open seas. Smaller than most other megacorporations' water-bound forces, the CNC makes up for it by being extremely flexible, mobile, and high impact when engagements occur. It can often outmaneuver superior numbers and make single, devastating strikes while minimizing losses. The Special Forces. For extremely important missions, Capitol utilizes its special forces. Resources are funneled more to elite units than regular infantry. This sometimes leads to regular troops being under-equipped, but Capitol believes unique circumstances call for unique solutions. They have honed their most elite soldiers into a variety of specialized ranks to be dispatched when most necessary. Free Marines. Not to be confused with the Free Brigades, the Free Marines are hardened killers. Each and every one is a veteran of multiple war zones, with years of combat experience in other branches of the military. All of them have been subject to court-martial proceedings and sentenced to death by firing squad. Service in the Free Marines is regarded as the equivalent, but it also allows Capitol to spend these dead men's lives in battle where their skills are most useful. If they survive 5 two-year terms, then they earn their freedom and the highly prized celebrity of the Capitolian Special Forces, composed of dishonored but still heroic individuals seeking redemption. They specialize in digging in and fighting behind enemy lines in apparent suicide missions, and are deployed all over the inner worlds. Sea Lions. Their long and illustrious history dates back to the first corporate wars, founded to spearhead assaults across Venus in environments where regular Capitol forces are unsuited. Sea Lions are the elite marine unit of the Venusian Navy, operating in the Graviton Archipelago, based in Port MacArthur. They are experts of guerrilla warfare, amphibious assaults, and long-range scouting operations across hostile terrain. Every Sea Lion is covered in elaborate tattoos, which can normally be used to identify members of the organization, even when they are out of uniform. Sunset Strikers. Based on Mercury, they are close combat specialists with intensive Mishiman martial arts training in the way of the warrior. They are entitled to wear the ceremonial blades of Mishiman samurai after thwarting an assassination attempt on the Lord Heir of Megacorporation Mishima. They often appear as mere bodyguards for high-ranking Capitolian officials, but their true purpose is to protect what little territory Capitol has managed to establish on the planet. Mercury presents many challenges due to its extreme environmental conditions. The surface is uninhabitable, and any colonies are found underground or in huge, shielded biospheres. Combat often occurs in tight, close quarters, with little chance for retreat or escape once the enemy is engaged. Sunset Strikers are thoroughly familiar with Mishiman warfare, diplomacy, and codes of conduct, allowing them to engage Mishiman warriors with the honor and valor expected of them. Their unit armor is overtly Mishiman in style. Their gear is often a mix of red and white, unless they are camouflaged for covert operations. Martian Banshees. One of the more unusual Special Forces regiments in the AFC, Martian Banshees are sworn enemies of Megacorporation Mishima. The unit consists entirely of men and women who have lost family members to attacks conducted either by Mishima or the Dark Legion. Martian Banshees are driven by a desperate revenge, which leads to an unmatched ferocity in battle. They can be found at the heart of any battle. Banshees are known to never retreat, even against overwhelming odds. Their helms and faces are always painted with hideous, even demonic, female faces, intended to strike fear in the enemy. Banshees are equipped with high-powered flight packs, which emit a horrible screeching as they drop into battle. Personalities. Military service protects Megacorporation Capitol, and in return, Capitol rewards its greatest fighters with its highest honor. Celebrity. These are a few of the most famous personalities of Capitol that have pledged themselves to fight with the cartel's ultimate weapon against the Dark Legion, the Doom Troopers. Mitch Hunter. Mitch survived the mean streets of San Dorado by learning how to handle himself from a very young age. By his teens, he had become involved in gang activities and was detained by Capitol security forces. The arresting officer sensed a potential for greatness in Mitch and decided to give him a break. Mitch was offered a chance to enroll in the Capitol Cadet program instead of prison. He rocketed his way up the military ladder and earned a place amongst the elite Sea Lions. His legend grew with every battle that took place, and promotion followed promotion until Colonel Mitch Hunter's name became known all over the solar system. He became Capitol's military superstar and their living embodiment of each shareholder's ability to succeed no matter their start in life. Mitch soon realized that all his accolades meant little in comparison to the threat to humanity of the Dark Legion. So he joined the Doom Troopers in order to take the fight directly to the Dark Powers. Mitch Hunter is a stubbornly agnostic individual who openly despises the Brotherhood's often harsh actions against the common man. He still bears scars inflicted by his intense love affair with Valerie Duval, a beautiful Bauhaus assassin. This has left him quiet and emotionally distant, the strong, silent type. Angelina Drake. A raid against Capitol by Mishiman extremists struck at the heart of San Dorado and robbed Angelina Drake of her parents at an early age, leaving Angelina with a lifelong, towering need for retribution. As soon as she was old enough, she signed up for the Capitol Armed Forces, where her skill swiftly led to her joining a unit that considered themselves the sworn enemies of Mishima, the Martian Banshees. Years passed, and her Mishiman enemies fled from her wrath, but she could find no retribution or peace. Angelina came to understand that her hatred was fulfilling the Dark Symmetry's design. Worse yet, her own hands had become responsible for new generations of orphans whose sole objective would also be an all-consuming revenge, a self-perpetuating and never-ending cycle. She could never reclaim her past, nor forget the horrors she had witnessed, but she could turn her talents towards crushing the true enemy, the Dark Legion. The Doom Troopers accepted her application, and Angelina has focused all her energies and talents in protecting humanity from the Dark Powers. Big Bob Watts. Brought up in the sprawl, the bleak DMZ just outside of San Dorado's walls, Big Bob Watts dragged himself free on his 18th birthday to join the Capitol's 53rd Heavy Infantry Unit, the Heartbreakers. After 6 years of service that brought Bob commendations for bravery and valor, his squad found itself facing a full host of Dark Legion creatures in the Martian desert. The incompetence of the 53rd's commander, a weak man who held his position thanks to political favors, led to the devastation of almost the entire company. Enraged and grief-stricken, Watts confronted the Major and beat him almost to death. An inquest found that Sergeant Watts' assault had actually saved the Heartbreakers from total destruction. However, an assault on an officer could not go unpunished. Bob was offered a lifeline in the form of the Free Marines. He gleefully accepted the punishment and the opportunity to once again fight against Capitol's enemies. He has since earned a pardon for his crime and now serves the Doom Troopers. Bob will always consider himself an active member of the Free Marines. Big Bob's unique Atlas rig has been further modified to take advantage of his superior strength. Power-assisted, load-bearing, and counterbalance engineering improves the accuracy and reduces the weight of his weapons. The unstoppable firepower of the Atlas mega cannons. Corporate Relations. Imperial. Thanks to Imperial treachery during the earliest Dark Legion attacks, Capitol has never trusted this corporation. Should the opportunity arise, many within Capitol's ranks would not hesitate to put Imperial out of its misery. A large portion of Capitol's covert operations are dedicated to monitoring and undermining Imperial, and strong anti-Imperial voices exist on the board of directors to this day. Bauhaus. Bauhaus and Capitol enjoy a steady and fruitful commercial trade agreement, though they have come to blows before over various territorial disputes. As of now, neutrality keeps things quiet between the two, but there is no telling how long this will last. Bauhaus holds dominance over much of Venus, but the resource-rich Capitol holdings throughout the Graviton Archipelago raise severe concerns. Both megacorporations maintain secret, subtle war against their respective colonies. But they have set aside any major military confrontations in the face of the Dark Legion's growing presence there. Mishima. While the largest of Capitol's trading partners, Mishima is the most ruthless. Mishima's highly restrictive society and values have brought the two to blows numerous times, and will do so in the future. Past conflicts have been over vital territories, such as the Graviton Archipelago and the southern lands of Mars. However, despite the violence, each megacorporation recognizes the other as a worthy competitor, and there can be an underlying sense of honor between the two, whether they are in the trade room or battlefield. Cybertronic. While intrigued by the promise of Cybertronic's developing technologies, Capitol remains leery of this new corporation, even though some members of the board would certainly be willing to buy them out. Capitol remains in a push-pull relationship, drawn to the ways it could enhance weaponry and the quality of life for its citizens, but uncertain that Cybertronic's discoveries and technologies might still fall prey to the dark symmetry. White Star. Capitol is wary of White Star, especially since they have only recently revealed themselves. Originally, Capitol fought White Star alongside the other megacorporations in a bid to return to and regain control of the Earth. Once White Star successfully resisted, Capitol withdrew to see what would happen next. They respect White Star for being wholly opposed to the Dark Legion and maintaining a general alliance with the Brotherhood. For now, White Star is simply too mysterious, brutal, and withdrawn to be fully trusted. The Brotherhood. Capitol sees itself as the foremost ally of the Brotherhood, with the majority of citizens being devout followers of the light and decrying all things heretical. The majority of the population attends the cathedral on a regular basis, and Capitol politicians are often seen at holy gatherings. The only point of contention is the Inquisition's sometimes overbearing methods, which oppose the Capitol way of freedom from oppression. Inquisitors follow a mandate to do everything in their power to stop the dark influence, often immediately and without trial. If this fate befalls the Capitolian citizen, it can lead to protests against the Brotherhood for overstepping its bounds and trampling citizens' rights. In an attempt to solve this problem, all Inquisitors are automatically ranked as Capitol Bureau of Investigation agents, giving them jurisdiction over citizens. This has helped to a small degree, but still, zealous Inquisitors have been known to slaughter any heretics they find, even if they possess minimal evidence of their activities for the Dark Legion. The Cartel. Capitol is the founding force of the Cartel and continues to pledge its full and unfailing support to the effort. Capitol believes the Cartel represents humanity's best hope of gaining a foothold in the continual war against the Dark Legion. The Cartel is intended to be a mutual effort on the part of all megacorporations. Capitol follows the established rules and regulations and expects the same from the other Cartel members. This creates a level of conflict with other megacorporations for not heeding the Cartel's influence. Capitol will even enforce Cartel laws outside of its own territories. This is done through economic and political sanctions against megacorporations that are acting outside of the Cartel's and thus humanity's interests. But Capitol has not yet gone to all-out war over such defiance. Luna PD. Like the Cartel, Luna PD is a joint effort among all megacorporations, established to act as an inner police force and weed out dissent and corruption that might threaten mutual megacorporation growth and alliances. Capitol would like to believe Luna PD has its best interests at heart, especially as it works under its directive. However, since it is staffed by members of all megacorporations, there is always potential for other agendas to be at play. And so Capitol keeps a close eye on those attempting to police themselves. There is a darker side of Capitol. Despite the best efforts of their powerful and relentless propaganda machine, the Capitolian dream may be dying. The employee-citizens of Capitol can feel that something has changed. Violent crime plagues the cities, and corruption is endemic throughout the territories. The powerful security agencies struggle to keep the peace. The ever-present threat of the Dark Legion looms large in every citizen's mind. Capital cities are impressive, but unusually dangerous and filthy, covered in advertising and Capitolian eagle-emblazed propaganda. Worship of fame and freedom at all costs has led to the highest crime rates in the system. Corruption in the system has led to powerful organized crime groups running many parts of the cities. The other megacorporations see the chaos of Capitol as a rabid mongrel needing to be chained. Fame-seeking, obsessive citizens addicted to consumerism. Without long-respected traditions, the citizens of Capitol chase fleeting pleasures and empty success. Then there are the heretics. The Capitolian approach for dealing with them is simple. Find all heretics and burn them in whatever face or form they come. No compromise and no faltering. Heretics are a corruptive force beyond redemption and threaten everything humanity has fought to achieve. This attitude has led Capitol to tolerate the torture and killing of its citizens by the Brotherhood's Inquisition. In response, the Brotherhood continually proves just how destructive and monstrous these creatures are, and that working with the Dark Symmetry threatens all humankind. Capitol does not hesitate to use heretics as social scapegoats, blaming them for anything from lowered stock values to public disruptions that require security forces' intervention to being behind all manners of criminal networks. Citizens would rather believe they are being plagued by heretics corrupting the system rather than the real-life flaws that push regular people to desperate extremes. This real corruption even affects the electoral process. The system of one man, one vote, based on shares owned, leaves the true power to rest in the hands of the famous and wealthy. The average employee-citizen has no real voice, and the system as it is rigged against them and continues to crumble due to greed, corruption, and ignorance. But the Capitolian dream, even if impossible or untrue, must survive. Capitol must endure. Were it to fall, it could mean the end of all of humanity. Megacorporation Capitol has always been humanity's first, best hope. Help us create the complete Mutant Chronicles. Please visit patreon.com/upturnedtable.